Page 26, Merry Christmas, Darling. 4/4 time. Lots of accidentals, got some eighth notes in it. I'm going to start with the right hand. You're starting out here, A, G sharp, A, eighth notes. So you have a rest on beat 1. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and second measure, G natural. Bring the thumb down. Then going on for the eighth rest, you got to move your hand. So just lift up and move. So it's starting with second measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. When you're in that position, you stay in this position for a while. Now the last two measures of the second line, they're saying it's a rest and 2. And then you cross over. Well, this kind of a pattern is used a number of times in this piece, and this is the only time you finger it this way. All the other times you're fingering it another way, which I think is better. So I'm going to encourage you to change this fingering to the other method, and that would be this. For that next to the last measure on the second line, it's 5, but instead of 3, bring the fourth down here, and then bring the second down here. So you're spreading the fingers out. The idea of this is that you don't cross over the thumb. You just here. There. And this is similar fingering to what we're going to run into over on page 27 in a few places, just different notes. So I encourage you to try that out. Third line is similar rhythm as what you've had. It's 1 and 2. Last two measures of the third line, you're here, and then you lift up at the end of the phrase, reach up to the octave, and then claps your hand, and then going on. This is the fourth line down. They say 1 2 1. I prefer a 1 2 3 or 1 3 2. It's similar to what you do in a scales. And then for the quarter note C, use thumb. It's again a new phrase. This is the same thing at the end of the page on the last measure. They want a 1 2 1. I recommend a 1 3 2. Just end on 2. Going on page 27, you have a quarter rest, so you have time to reposition your hand where you want. Now, top of page 27, second measure. You're here on there, and then lift up. It's a new phrase. They're saying 1. That's a little bit awkward. You're on a 1 here. I suggest you do a 2 on the E flat and bring the thumb under. And then you can use 3 on the G. So it's 2 1 3. So that first line is rest and 2 and 3 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Second line, rest and 2. And then you have to reach up for the second measure. It's the end of a phrase. Just lift up and move. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Watch the last measure. Bring the second finger down to the G, and then lift up and move the hand down. And then second measure, you're playing the dotted half note with a fourth finger, and then the eighth notes with the third. But again, it's a new phrase, so lift up. Next measure, bring the fourth down. Finger up for the A. See, you're moving around a little bit. You're not in a 5-finger position, so just watch this fingering carefully. I think you'll be okay. On the last line, the third measure over on page 27, it's 1 and 2. Bring the fourth down for the A. And the chords, 1 3 5. I can offer other fingerings for these chords, but let's go ahead and use this good practice, 1, 3, 5. Now for the left hand is just supported. Keep the left hand soft. It's just the chords. At the beginning, you have a D, an F, and a C. I recommend a 5-4-1 on that, not 5-3-1. It's 5-4-1, and then come up second measure. They're saying thumb again. You just used a thumb on the last note of the first line. So I'm recommending that you do a 2. You see, you could say it's a new phrase. The problem is the phrasing is for the right hand, not the left. So keep the left hand legato. There's no lifting up here. So 2 on the A, 3 on the A flat. Now if you want, you can bring the thumb under for the G. 2, and then 1, 3, 5. So I connect them all. And then you can bring it down. If you want to use the thumb on the G, that's fine. And then we have the broken chords. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Blah, blah, blah. At the top of page 27. First measure, 1, 3, 5. For the C, I recommend a 4th finger. Just, and that way you're ready for the 5th finger on the next note, the B. And that second measure is a 1 on the G. And then I can do a 5-2 for the B flat, A flat. If the hand's big enough. If it's not, then you're stuck with using that. And then going on, I recommend a 4 on the E flat. And then a 5. You see, we just came off of here for this end of the second measure, and that way going on, I can put the 4th finger on the E flat, and then a 5. If you don't want to put the thumb on the B flat, then you're going to have to either put the thumb on the G or the 3rd finger on the G. Or here, so you can reach up and then go on. Second line, 3rd measure over, a G, B flat, D, and then a G flat, F, and then a B natural, and then going on, you're back into home territory. 3rd line down, 1st measure. Chords 1, 3, 5. I recommend a 4, 2, 1 for the next one, and then you're back to 5. 4th line down, you're here. Then they're saying a 5. I recommend a 4 on that F for the next measure here, and then for the next measure 4, 2, 1. 4, 3, 1, and then their measure, their fingering is fine. The last line. The first measure is okay. In the second measure, if you don't want to put a thumb on that black key, if your fingers are too fat, then you're going to have to reach up with 2 and 3, and then 5, 3, 1. Here, and then you can go on. Next to the last measure, that is a 5-1. That means play with the 5th finger and immediately put the thumb on it. You're substituting there, and that puts you in position for the last note, which is a C with an 8 VA under it, which means an octave lower, so it's here. So the last 2 measures is here, like that. And once you get the hands worked out one at a time, get the fingering worked out so it's working for you, then try putting them together slowly. So at the beginning, you're here and here. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. 1 and. Second line, 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2. line, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. We need these phrases in the right hand. The left hand is going to be legato, so try and remember to lift the right hand up between the phrases. For instance, the last two measures of the third line is here. Lift up. Lift up. And keep doing it. So you work it out really carefully, one hand at a time, then the hands together, and then you can go back and think about maybe the dynamics. It starts out soft. That's the melody. That's the right hand. You decide how soft that is. Decide, what is this? How soft do I want? It's not really soft. It's just soft. When you decide that, then you add the other hand and make it softer. We want to hear the right hand. The left hand's in the background. Measure the second line, you have a crescendo, you're going to go up to medium loud. And that medium loud is for the melody, but what we can do here is we can start out with the left hand going up to medium loud, and then when the melody comes in, you bring the left hand down. So the last measure of the second line, the left hand, each one's getting a little louder. And then when you start the third line, the first note can be medium loud, but then after that it's going to be really soft, because then the melody goes medium loud. So starting with the last measure of the second line, it's here. And then the third line down, next to the last measure, you're going to crescendo again. To a loud. In the next line, in the middle of the line, you see the decrescendo, come back down to a medium loud. In the last line, you're going to crescendo again up to a loud. The melody is loud. The left hand staying soft throughout all of this. At the top of page 27, you're going back down to a medium loud. Then go down to medium loud. Now, second line, you're going back up to loud again. Third line down, second measure, you're going back down to a medium loud. You're kind of going back and forth between loud and medium loud, so you work those out. At the last line on page 27, you're going into the line loud. And then now you're going to decrescendo down to a soft, and there's a retardando in the third measure, so you're going to start slowing down. All at the same time, huh? It in softly. Now all we got to do is, once you worked all that out, and then we add the pedal to help smooth it out a little bit. Now let's talk about the pedal. They're keeping the pedaling simple for you. They're just pretty much legato pedaling the whole thing. I think that establishes some really bad habits, because then you get in the habit of doing that, and that's ugh. If I pedal it the way they're showing, this is what I get. I'm going to push the notes down and then the pedal, and each time those little pulses, I'm going to push the note down first and then raise the pedal and put it back down. It's called changing the pedal. I'm going to change the pedal. Here. for some other pedaling in here, but it gets rather intricate. Let's keep the pedaling simple. I want to take out some of the blurriness though, so at the beginning you can go ahead and make this mushy. Lots of overtones, it kind of runs together. In the second measure, I recommend changing the pedal after you play the half note E in the right hand. So we lose this. We don't need that, so it's here. So the E is by itself. Second line, in the first measure, I'm only pedaling the first two beats. I'm lifting the pedal up right after I play the A flat. I don't want to smear this and this. I don't want them both. So I'm doing it. And in the next measure, I'm not pedaling until I hit the G flat in the left hand, because I don't want to smear this. I don't want that. So again, the first two measures. And then the next measure, third measure, I'm only pedaling the first two beats. So after I hit the D in the right hand, I lift the pedal up and leave it up until the next measure. Then in the third line, you can pedal it like they're telling you to. Like they're telling you to is fine there. Now when you get over to the page 27, in the second line, third measure, here, I'm not pedaling the eighth notes. Just lift it up on beat 2. And in the next measure, I'm not pedaling until I play the half note in the left hand, or the right hand. Then at the bottom of the page from 27, third measure, I'm not pedaling the first two beats. Then I can put it down for the last two beats. So those are the only changes I'm suggesting. I could suggest a lot more, but I'm not going to get into it. This is enough. Again, if you're struggling with it, you don't understand it, just pedal it the way they're telling you to. All I'm doing is taking out some of the mushiness. If you listen very carefully, you'll hear it. And you could, if it gets too mushy, just change the pedal. I like to play this with you very, very slowly to double check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do the dynamics. I'm going to try and pedal it like I suggested, so you can see that if you want it. Otherwise, pedal it the way they're telling you to. So I'm going to give us 4 counts, so it's on 4/4 times. So go ahead and put your hands where they go. Here. And here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. 1 and 2. 4, 1 and 2. 3, 4. 4,